I just decided to go back and redo one of my videos since Aspire has come out with a newer version and has changed some things up. I'm on Aspire version 12.5. A lot of the layouts changed, a lot of the tools changed, so this might help some of the guys coming from the older version and even the guys on the newer version now. So I'm going to go ahead and start on how to basically make your letters bulletproof and then show you some of the smoothing tool and the draft tool and just way to, it's kind of workarounds for this software. The way that it works, there's just things that you have to do to improve upon the design that you can't get initially by using some of these tools. So I've got the job set up at 12 by 12. Material thickness doesn't really matter right now. I'm going to scale the resolution down a little bit because my computer's getting older and it's starting to chug a little bit at that setting. So I'm going to start here with this font. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. Just created, that way. So you can go ahead and, I don't like that view. You can turn off the 2D stuff if you want. Right there, and it shows you, it's easier to see your model sometimes. But you can see all the jagged edge and it kind of looks like crap, and you can see a lot of that when you machine too, and some guys spend a lot of time hand sanding that out. And then if you didn't do what I was telling you, like I'm going to show you here, then you'd probably just come over here, you'd go to the smoothing tool. Oh wait, you got to do one other thing. So if you're creating a component and you use this tool, you have to bake it. Otherwise, it's just acting like there's that space underneath of it, and it won't do anything with it until you bake it. So bake it, and now you can smooth it. So it literally just destroys it, and then it puts a draft on it, and a draft is like, it's an angle on each side. It comes into play a lot with like injection molding and sand casting and stuff like that, because you don't want a straight edge, you want an angle so the stuff falls out of it. And here the draft works for machining because your tool it's on a ramp when it's you draft it. If it doesn't have a draft, it's going to run directly into it and then lift up and then go over, and it takes longer, and it also doesn't leave a clean edge. It leaves a lot for you to clean up on the back end. And that's all the way, smoothed out. It looks a little better, about half, but I'm going to show you an even better way. Sometimes your font is big enough to where you don't need to do a whole heck of a lot more than this to it. So you just add a 10% draft, and you need to have that component the only thing showing on your model when you're doing this too. Otherwise it's going to throw everything on with a draft on it and make one big component out of it. So we threw a 10% draft on it, and then you're going to go to your smoothing components tool, and that doesn't look too bad. That looks pretty good. This issue here, there's not a whole lot you could do about it. It's not really going to show up in the machining process. It's just a graphical thing. If you're super anal, like me, sometimes you can come in here and hit it again with another draft to get a little bit rid of it, most of it, or you can add a little bit more of an angle to it, and then it should disappear more. Sometimes you have to go a bit more than that. Yeah, see, like, it pretty much gets rid of it. So if your font's big enough, sometimes you can just get away with doing that. But having that draft on it it gives it a lot more material holding it down, you know, from what you're cutting away from, and then the tool ain't slamming into it. It's ramping up and across it and then back down, you know, and it keeps going in a smooth motion, and you just won't get that tear out. And it'll actually leave a lot more cleaning surface or clean machine surface, but you'll also get that inherent problem with machining that one side or the other is always going to have a little bit of fuzzies on it and that you're going to have to get rid of. So anyways, that's the one way to do it if you don't need to upscale the way I'm going to show you for like a lot smaller font. So I'm going to hide that and create a new level, and then let's take this down. If you select both of these, it'll scale them at the same time off of whatever the bigger piece is in there that you're scaling. So let's say we're going down to 2 inches in this diameter of the circle. So you'll need to bake that. But the smaller you go, the more the jagged stuff shows up, as you can see. So the one thing you're going to want to do here is not create it. I'm just showing you, how jagged it is. I'm going to get rid of it, and you're going to Control C, which is copy, and then Control V, which is paste it. Go to the scale tool, and then you can either do it like this and it scales it up, or you can just manually do it like that, and then Control Z to bring it back to where it was, or undo. So what we're going to do is the same process with like 1 or 2 extra steps, but at this size we're going to make it at least 1 inch tall. And then bake it. You could probably skip the bake if you just go ahead and throw a draft on it. And it seems to take a lot of computing power to throw them drafts on stuff, especially if you've got a lot going on in a 3D complex model. And then you can shut that 2D off and look at it. It looks decent, but you can make it a lot better with the smoothing tool. And then I don't like to go any more than half if I can avoid it. I like to try to go about 25%. That looks pretty good. There's nothing. There's about 25, and there's about half. Half looks pretty decent too. The bigger you go with it, the more you can smooth it, and it won't mess with the way the font looks originally. You know, before you start screwing with it, it just smooths everything out. So the bigger you go, the more of the smoothing tool that you can min-max. You can go all the way to the max, if that makes sense. So we could go all the way max here. Yeah, so we can go all the way to the max on this one. So go ahead and turn on the 2D component deal, and you're going to highlight or select the component, that font, and then this circle here, and we set that at 12, and the old one I think it was 2, and you want to leave this check marked on there. And then the auto scale, I leave it checked because when you move it in, it'll all go down, you know, at the same scale. See, then there, it automatically, everything's lined up. If you try doing it manually, it just takes a lot longer. I used to not even use the a circle around it. I used to just try grabbing it like this and trying to line it up, like, you know, trying to line it up this way. And then I was like, God, there's got to be a faster way. And then I figured, oh man, I'll just use that scale tool with a circle around it. So it looks pretty good. It's just, it looks a little pixelated still, but that's just the thing with this software. You can do the same thing like I was saying before. Like if you 10 to 15% is all I like to really use for the draft on these. Sorry for that interruption. It was my little girl. She needed something. So anyways, you can come in here and you can go to 15 and it'll also get rid of a lot of these little rough edges down here. And especially with font, you can do quite a big draft on it. And the more draft it's got, the stronger it's going to be, and it'll help that tool from blowing anything out. But then the one deal is, if the letters are real close together, it's going to give it less room for that tool to fit down in there. So it's just another thing you're going to have to look at in your machine preview. But if we go to, you hold shift when you hit the job setup there, and it'll give you the ability to go extended when it comes to the resolution. You know, and that looks pretty good. None of this would show up when it comes to machining, so let's grab this and just do a machine preview on, let's go remove that, select 1/32, because that'll show you a lot more detail. Raster, boundary offset, 0, calculate. Yeah. It did not do select vector. That was a problem. I was on model boundary, so it only machines around the actual model that you created. You need to do a vector boundary because I'm trying to use this. Reset. See, it's pretty smooth. You're gonna have, and that wouldn't even show up in the machining, but you're gonna have this little rounded, you can't even see it because for the most part, but you're gonna have this little rounded lip at the bottom of the letters. On an 1/32, you probably wouldn't even see it. But also one thing is, depending on how big your job size is too, it's gonna affect how pixelated your stuff is. So if we go down to 4x4, it should look a lot better and give you a better machine preview. And it's also going to take longer for it to run through the preview. See, yeah, gives you a lot better idea of what it's going to look like. So this is what I was talking about, giving their tool room to get down in there. This, I mean, it's not a big deal at all. That is plenty of room, and that's plenty of depth. If these letters were closer together, and this was higher up, closer to this edge, you might want to think about spacing them out. But like that, you're not going to really see a whole heck of a lot of that with the size that that font is. But that's basically how you make your letters bulletproof with this newer version of Aspire. I'm going to keep making videos when I have free time. And then I'm also willing to teach people 3D design when I've got free time. But I'm going to try growing this YouTube channel a little bit. Uh, Kind of going through a transition period too from doing a lot of 3D machining into cabinetry. And I'm just doing a lot of house projects before I take on any work. But yeah, that's it. And if you have any questions, just leave me a comment. You can hit me up at rathtechdesign at gmail.com. I've got a Facebook, same thing, Rathtech Design, and then I have a website where I sell my files, and that's rathtechdesign.com. So I'll just see you in the next one.